You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Shall we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Something strange is going on. Look, there's a signpost up ahead. It says, live from Little Rock, you're in the geeky zone on Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio. Love it. A journey into the thing we love. Zach's in there like, what a dork, looking at me, face palming. That intro that y'all just heard before my normal intro is one of my favorite TV shows ever. I think it's one of the most amazing TV show intros ever, and the show that it introduces, of course, the Twilight Zone, has never been equaled. Are you holding up your finger to ask me something,
One
Zach?
question.
What?
Have you seen Black Mirror on Netflix?
No.
It's sort of like Twilight Zone.
Is it? Okay.
You should try it out.
All right.
Creepy, but you should try it out.
Is it an anthology series? So like every episode is a different story?
Yeah, it is. Like
okay,
that.
well that's what Twilight Zone pioneered that.
Okay.
Yeah, you had Twilight Zone, then you had Outer Limits, you've had some other shows like that. But yeah, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. My guest today is an expert on the Twilight Zone, and I love the Twilight Zone. Huge. Anyway, I'm Shane Stacks. I'm your host. That's Zach, my board op / engineer / making it all happen, pressing the buttons in there on the Starship Enterprise. Make it all. Do we have Gene on the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gene, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, buddy, give me one. Yeah, man, glad to have you. Give me 1 second. I got to do all my housekeeping notes. And then we'll dig right in with you. But that's Gene DeRosa. He's an author. He's also an editor and a marketer with Signature Horror / Samson Publishing. But he has a book coming out about the Twilight Zone. So we'll be talking about that today. Plus, we'll be talking about this amazing TV show. Just absolutely never been equaled. Amazing TV show. And of course, Rod Serling was the mastermind behind that. And you heard his voice on the intro before the show. Now, if you've never seen the Twilight Zone, I'm not talking about the remakes and the reboots and the movie and all that. They're fine and all, but if you've never seen the classic black and white from the 60s Twilight Zone and you're listening to this, you need to go find it, whether it's syndicated on some retro TV or if it's on Netflix or Hulu or on CBS, wherever. You need to go watch some of it. It's some of the best TV that's ever been made, and best speculative fiction out there, period, whether it's TV or, written or short stories or whatever. It's really tight, amazing television. But anyway, this is Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio. You can call me at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. If you're listening live, the live show goes at 1 o'clock Central, Little Rock, Arkansas, Central Arkansas metro area on 96.5 FM The Answer. We stream simultaneously on 96.5fmtheanswer.com. And then, of course, we'll go out delayed as a podcast, and we go out on the blog at shaneplays.com. We go Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You can find me on YouTube. And also, we're on SoundCloud now. And then last but not least, we're also carried a week delayed on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. But right now, we're live. So if you're listening live at 1 o'clock Central on Saturday afternoon, you can call 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. Even if you just want to tweet me or call in and tell me what your favorite TV show is, or your favorite episode of the Twilight Zone is, then I'd love to hear from you. So that's pretty much the show notes. I think we lost Gene. Yeah, Zach's trying to get him back right now, so I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe Gene went into the Twilight Zone. Gene, did you take a side trip into the Twilight Zone right then? Is that what happened?
Apparently, I entered the Twilight Zone.
Well, I'm glad we got you back, and hopefully there won't be a twist ending. So, but anyway, I also want to let people know that you can go to the show notes at shaneplays.com right now, and there's plenty of links to Gene's his publishing company, and also the book that we're going to be talking about today, his Twilight Zone trivia book and encyclopedia. So I ran into Gene a few months ago at the it was the Little Rock Comic Con, and we got to talking, and he's like, I wrote this book on the Twilight Zone. And I'm like, dude, I really want to have you on my show because I love the Twilight Zone. So this is so cool. I'm glad to have you on. You've got a book that's coming out soon, and it's about to go into pre-order. Is that right, Gene? Or it is in pre-order right now?
It's in pre-order now. It was supposed to be out about a month and a half ago, but there's just so much source material that it's taken me a bit longer than I expected. So it should be within the next month. It'll be released.
Great, but people can pre-order it right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So before we talk about Twilight Zone, tell me a little bit about who you are, like what you do, and a little bit about Signature Horror and Samson Publishing.
Well, basically, I was just a trivia geek for most of my life, and I played AOL trivia games for about 20 years now. They were like live trivia games in a chat room, and at first I was just a player. Then I started hosting games. Then they shifted things a bit, so me and a friend actually created our own trivia forum. But then it led to I started writing a blog and stuff like that. So then I just put writing and trivia together and decided to write a trivia book, all about Friday the 13th. And in doing that, I had to have a way to publish it. So we're self-published through our own publishing company.
Okay.
But with the publishing company itself, the goal was learn all the ins and outs ourselves, and then maybe help other people who want to self-publish but don't want to learn all of the little details, and then help them get their book out.
Okay. Now I know you've got a book out there with, I know you got one on Jason from Friday 13th. I saw that on your Signature Horror page. What other stuff do y'all have out there right now?
I also have my own Halloween trivia book all about Michael Myers and the Halloween franchise. And then our first book that we published that I didn't personally write was a recipe book for a local orchard here in Oklahoma called Livesey Orchards. They're like the home of the Porter peaches, which might actually be popular in Arkansas as well. But
yeah, it's possible. We're close enough. So we're pretty much neighbors. So, and now if people go to shaneplays.com, I've got links to Signature Horror, I think your website and your Facebook. I know I've definitely got your website linked, and I've also got a link to how to order your Twilight Zone book, but how do you prefer people to find you?
Well, I mean, if you search my name on Facebook and want to friend me, that's fine. You can find like I said, my pages that are on Facebook. I'm more than willing to sit and chat with people about the things that I like. But if you want to actually purchase some of the stuff, if you go to the website signaturehorror.com, that's where you'll find everything.
Okay. Very cool.
The books are also available on Amazon, but I never see those books or anything. So if you wanted it signed or anything, you can get it direct from me, and I'll sign it, personalize it, whatever you want. And you also do a lot of local cons, correct? Because you're in Tulsa. So it seems like you make a lot of the Little Rock and Arkansas area conventions, right? Yeah. Amazingly, I think I'm in Arkansas more than I am in Oklahoma. Okay. Well, that's how we met. I hope to run into you again. So I was like, wow, I definitely got to have this guy on. Last question for you about just sort of the publishing. I had, May of 2016, I had a guy from Pine Bluff on. He calls himself the Film Freak, and his name's just Christopher Upjohn. Are you familiar with him? He's done a lot of self-publishing on horror as art. I may have seen him at a show or two, but I'm not really familiar with him. Yeah, I'll try to put you in touch with him off the air. It sounds like y'all might. I'm not saying you should publish his books or anything. Y'all just have really shared interest. He's written a lot of books on, like horror as art, even slasher films. He's like, he'll argue these are art from a certain perspective. And he's way into it. So I'll try to put you guys. And Christopher, if you're listening, I know that, we haven't talked in a while. I want to have you back on again sometime. But I do try to have, I don't want to get into the gory, ooey gooey stuff on air because, I like this to be a family friendly show on podcasts. But, I've had Christopher on,
We had a great talk about Cabin in the Woods and how amazing that was as far as the deconstruction of the, the horror genre, the slasher film kind of thing. I've had Alan Howarth. That was such an amazing, the guy that did a lot of the music for the John Carpenter movies.
He is amazing.
Yeah, I had him on, and now I've had you on. So I do like to cover this when I can. I was growing up, I was a major horror movie nerd. I don't watch them as much as I do or as I used to. But back in the day, like I would write like, Michael Myers versus Freddy versus Jason fan fiction and all that. I mean, I was
right.
Yeah, I was way into that stuff. But anyway, I want to, we're going to talk about the Twilight Zone in a second. I got my engineer here, Zach, it's a major movie buff. So I've got to update him on my movie watching. And then we'll dig into the Twilight Zone. Zach, so I did go see Spider-Man Homecoming.
What did you think?
I liked it a lot. It's a good, solid, fun movie.
Okay.
I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I don't like about it, and Gene, if you've seen this movie or the other one I'm talking about, feel free to jump in. Here's the one thing I don't like about what they're doing with Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
They're basically making him this like little cousin of Iron Man.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Because in the comics, Peter Parker always bootstrapped himself and did it on his own.
Exactly.
Okay. So that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie itself was really good.
I totally agree.
But Peter having this amazing Iron Man type suit, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because Peter invented all his own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I don't like that theme.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comic books these days and in the Marvel movies, like all the superheroes are government stooges.
Yeah.
I don't like that theme. But I did think that Spider-Man Homecoming was a really good movie. Mm-hmm. And I thought that Tom Holland did a good job.
Totally agree.
So there you go. That's that on that. Have you seen?
I would agree about the whole intertwining with Iron Man and everything. It doesn't seem right. I haven't seen the movie itself, but I've seen the commercials and the previews and stuff.
And I felt the same.
Agree.
Yeah, it was just too many attachments to the Avengers and to Iron Man.
Well, now at the end, they kind of, and I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. They kind of hint that maybe it won't be as strong or something. But I mean, for most of the movie, he's like desperate for Tony Stark's attention and approval, like the whole movie.
Exactly.
And what happened to the Ultimate Comics, they did this Ultimate Comics line in the 90s, and they kind of started there where Spider-Man was like a stooge of S.H.I.E.L.D. from the very beginning. Like Nick Fury knew who he was from the very beginning and totally meddled with his life. And there's just more and more of a trend in the comic books that like you don't really have vigilante heroes anymore. They're stooges of the government. And I just, I'm not a big fan of that. But the Spider-Man Homecoming was a great movie. And I thought that the Vulture, Michael Keaton as the Vulture, is great.
Yep.
And I like, it was a good movie. I had no problem with it. And I liked, what's her name? Zendaya? What's her name? I liked her character. I thought she was pretty funny.
Okay.
So anyway.
Okay.
And Flash was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's a jerk.
What would you give out of 10?
Man, I don't know. 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good, solid fun. But I'm still a fan of the Sam Raimi movies. Yeah. A lot of people are down on the Sam Raimi movies. I don't know why, because everyone loved them when they first came out.
Right.
But now I do think that this Peter Parker was a good blend of nerdy Peter Parker, but a smart aleck when he's a Spider-Man. Because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was not a good smart aleck when he was a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield was a great smart aleck as Spider-Man, but he was too cool as Peter Parker.
Right.
So this is a good blend.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I want to say on that, because I want to waste some more time on it. Okay. But I also saw last night Kong Skull Island. And I like that a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
That was a good action movie.
Yes.
Very good action movie.
There you go.
Yeah, very good. And they didn't mess around. Have you seen it, Gene? Have you seen Kong Skull Island?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. They don't mess, because usually with the giant monster movies, they tease you for like half the movie before they show. Kong's like, boom, I'm here.
There you go.
Boom. I mean, the big helicopter fight happens in the first reel. And which I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I got it as far as just a fun stuff blows up action movie. I really enjoyed Kong Skull Island.
Totally agree.
And that giant spider.
Oh my goodness.
They're going to have to pay my therapy bills for that. That's all I'm saying. That giant spider was wrong. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Gene, I don't know if you like, I mean, it's not a horror movie or anything, but it's a good action sci-fi giant monster movie. So they had a lot of fun with it. Okay. Now to the topic of the day, the Twilight Zone. All right, tell us, Gene, imagine, because I have a pretty varied listenership. I know some people listen with their kids. Zach, have you ever seen the Twilight Zone, Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So imagine that somebody listening to the show has never seen the Twilight Zone. Tell us what it is.
It's an adventure into ordinary topics and ordinary people put into extraordinary situations, and to see how they react. And then in the end, it's not always what it seems.
Right.
And not what you're expecting.
There's not always a twist ending, but there's usually a twist ending.
Right.
And it's usually, but not always, supernatural or sci-fi. Every now and then it's just psychological, but usually but usually it's sci-fi or supernatural or even, kind of horror elements mixed in. So, it's the original series ran. Now it was the baby of Rod Serling, who would, his voice was on the intro. You're entering a, whatever, do 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 do, and then he would introduce each episode. He would say, he would kind of give kind of an intro or a monologue or something, saying what was, and then he would kind of wrap it up at the end of the show, and he would kind of wrap it up. So that was usually kind of the format. But what kind of topics did they cover, Gene?
Let's see. In the very first episode, it was loneliness and isolation and what happens to a man when he's just left all alone. And in the end, it's actually an experiment to see how long he could last out in space. So, right. You take the whole space travel element and loneliness and just meld the two together.
And that was called Where Is Everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. And that makes, I spent last night and a good part of the day just going through top Twilight Zone episodes, people's lists, and that one makes a lot of them. So,
definitely.
Yeah, that one makes a lot of them. There's a lot of repeats we'll go into later in the show of we'll talk about later, what our personal favorite episodes or whatever. So the Twilight Zone ran 5 seasons, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It almost didn't make it 5 seasons, but yes, 5 seasons.
Okay. So after the third season, it got canceled, but then I was it NBC or I think CBS asked them to come back as a mid-season replacement.
Right. So they put on another an hour-long drama, and it failed halfway through. So they convinced Rod Serling to bring it back and hurry up and do 18 episodes.
Well, now, and this is interesting because I have never felt most people see the 30-minute, in syndication. There's an hour-long version of the Twilight Zone. I know the 4th season was hour-long. I can't remember if the 5th season was hour-long or not.
No, it was just the 4th season.
Okay, in my opinion, it does not work well as an hour-long show.
I would agree. Some of them seem drawn out, but there's also a few really good episodes in there, in my opinion.
So, can you think of any off the top of your head?
The Printer's Devil, which starred Burgess Meredith. Pretty much any Burgess Meredith episode. If you want to get introduced to the Twilight Zone, find a Burgess Meredith episode.
Well, now but he was in every episode, man. He was in a lot of them. He was in probably one of the more famous ones called Time Enough at Last, which makes a lot of. But yeah, he was in several, and he was in that episode, The Obsolete Man, I think, where they some futuristic society ruled that he was obsolete and he had to choose his method of execution. Uh-huh. Yeah, and what was great about the Twilight Zone was that it was an anthology series, and I love anthology series, and every episode was different. You didn't know what you were getting, different actors, different setups, different situations, and it was so tightly written. I've never seen a show that was even today that was as tightly written as the Twilight Zone was. They didn't.
Right, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I don't know about the hour-long shows, but the 30-minute shows, they didn't waste anything. Everything had impact. The camera work, the characters, it just everything fired on all cylinders just about every episode. And I'm guessing, Rod Serling wrote a lot of those episodes, right?
Right. Initially, he wrote all of them up until he realized that he couldn't handle all of the workload, but he was still required to do a specific amount of a specific percentage of the episodes. But he brought in some really good writers to help him along the way. Like Charles Beaumont, who, let's see, other things that he's done. Off the top of my head, I'm not remembering anything that he's done, but Richard Matheson, who did I Am Legend, The Incredible Shrinking Man. He wrote the teleplays, the screenplays for Roger Corman's The Pit and the Pendulum. Let's see, Tales of Terror, also with Vincent Price.
Richard Matheson is amazing. Stephen King cites Richard Matheson as one of his main influences. So,
definitely.
I Am Legend is, amazing. And I'm not talking about the Will Smith movie. I haven't even seen it, so I don't know if it's good or not. But the novella I Am Legend is amazing. Really good stuff. Right. So, but other than, but Rod Serling was, it was his brainchild. He he kept a pretty tight hand on it through the whole series, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He was sort of the Gene Roddenberry of the Twilight Zone, which is, I think, why the entire run is so consistently good. Even when they forced him to go to hour episodes, as you say, there was still some good stuff in there.
Yeah. After season 3, producer Buck Houghton, who was also there for the first 3 seasons, he and Serling both had the hand over everything that was happening. So it was the two of them working together, with Serling having the final say, of course. But after season 3, Buck Houghton left. So that's why some people feel that it kind of fell apart a little bit with the hour-long episodes.
Yeah, I've only seen 1 or 2 of the hour episodes. I probably saw, because I saw most of my Twilight Zone in syndication, like at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day when that's how you caught stuff, was when the TV decided to run it for you. And it was always some like 9 or 10 o'clock show. They would run like 2 episodes in a row or something like that. So I probably saw a lot of the same episodes over and over, those 30-minute ones in syndication, because I was going, a lot of these fan faves I've heard of, but I've never seen, Right. But yet I've seen some of my favorites over and over and over. So that syndication block that I was watching must have only had so many, it didn't have like the whole run in it or something.
I actually grew up in New Jersey, like about 45 minutes outside of New York, and there was a New York TV station who was pretty much, in my opinion, the first channel to ever run like marathons and let you binge watch something.
Right.
This was back in the late 70s, early 80s, but they would always have the Honeymooners and Barney Miller and the Twilight Zone marathons. So that's where I picked up on starting to watch it. Okay.
See, I got my, I can't remember which channel it was. There's probably some UHF channel, if that means anything to any people out there. And it was, I watched MASH in the Twilight Zone. So I got a double dose of fantastic TV. Okay. So I got to get us to a break. When we come back, I want to talk more about your book, and then maybe talk about some of our favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone. So I got a PSA here, Zach. I'm going to do the first PSA we've ever had. I'm going to help out Care for Animals. Pause at the Net, Arkansas's 2016 Adult Tennis Tournament of the Year, returns to Rebsamen Tennis Center August 11th through 13th. Hosted by Care for Animals and chaired by local tennis player and animal lover Liz Russell, this tournament promises to be an ace for animal rescue. Pause at the Net is a USTA-sanctioned tournament where players and guests will enjoy competitive matches, food trucks, beverages, a dog wash, microchip clinic. Zach, we can finally go get microchipped. Silent auction, and more. You can also meet a few of Care's adoptable dogs. Care's invites you to have a ball for a good cause. Register now to help Care continue its mission to save animals from euthanasia and provide low-cost spay-neuter options. Visit careforanimals.org for more information.
The smell of mildew emanates from wet stone walls. The only choices before you are to enter the door to the north, or travel back up the stairs from whence you came.
Okay. I go to the door to the north.
In this room you encounter an event promoter,
Arkansas RPG Con is the Arkansas convention for all tabletop role-playing games. Arkansas RPG Con will be held on Saturday, October 21st at the Gene Moss Building, located at 913 East Sevier Street in Benton, Arkansas. Early bird tickets are just $7, so visit arpgcon.com for all the details about Arkansas RPG Con.
Okay, well, I guess I go to Arkansas RPG Con.
Yeah, that does sound pretty fun.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio. I am talking with Gene DeRosa, who is an author and also an editor at Signature Horror / Samson Publishing. We're talking about the Twilight Zone because we both love the TV show. And then we're about to talk about a book that he's got coming out called, the Twilight Zone Trivia Book and Encyclopedia. So cool stuff. I'm going to, just in case people are joining us and didn't hear the very beginning of the show, Zach, hit us with that intro again for the Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
That's such good stuff. I love that. You know, you could, that little, that's one of those iconic sounds. You can play it and people immediately know what it's trying to invoke. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Love that stuff. You know, there was the Outer Limits was okay, but it was nowhere near as good as Twilight Zone. It had a few good episodes, but it was obviously trying to compete for even my younger, 9, 10, 11-year-old self could tell that. So, now speaking of other shows, Rod Serling went on to do the Night Gallery, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that one was a little more horror centric.
Yeah. It got a bit darker.
Yeah. It got pretty dark. Yeah. So anyway, all right.
But by then the network was letting him do what he wanted to do.
Right.
Because they had such a good history with him.
Right. There was some creepy stuff. What's that one where that old man tells that kid to dig? And he digs and finds that box, and then he opens it up, and the old man comes jumping out of the box. It's just wrong. Wrong. The opposite of right. Okay, anyway. So tell us, you've got the Twilight Zone trivia book and encyclopedia, which is an 800-page tour de force, if you will, magnum opus on the Twilight Zone. Obviously, you have to love something to put that kind of work into it. So tell us a little bit about your book, Gene.
Well, basically, it covers the entire original series. There are some mentions of some of the revival series when it's appropriate, like some of the episodes they tried to remake for the revival series. One of them, It's a Good Life. With,
they did a
Bill
sequel.
Mooney.
Yeah, they did a sequel to it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I love that episode. The sequel is really good. I mean, you can find it on YouTube or Daily Motion, but it's called "It's Still a Good Life."
Yep.
And they brought back Cloris Leachman as his mother still. And then they brought in Bill Mooney is still in it, and then his daughter is actually playing his daughter in the episode, his real life daughter.
And she's the one with the omnipotent powers in this one. Yeah, I didn't even know they did that. I was going through all these lists of great Twilight Zone episodes, just trying to get my brain juices flowing and get back into my being a kid and watching the show and loving it so much. And I saw that. I was like, oh, they didn't remake it; they did a sequel. So that one they did the original, they did It's a Good Life. And the conceit there is there's this mega powerful kid who's basically omnipotent, but who's also a little monster and just does terrible things to people. Yeah. He just, whatever his whim is, he'll do. And that was one of the classic black and white episodes. Then they remade it for the Twilight Zone movie in the 80s. And then they've done a sequel to it. So yeah, that one definitely, is living on. So when you say you got it's a trivia book and encyclopedia, like there's a synopsis of each episode, like how in depth with that many episodes, how in depth are you able to go on these episode synopsis?
Well, basically each episode will get 4 pages.
Oh, wow.
The first page is a list of trivia questions all about the episode itself. The second page is the episode synopsis. I mean, some of them get a little more detailed depending on the episode. But then the third page is half of it is the full cast and crew list. But the other half is my favorite part of the book. I call it trivia extras. And it's just like little tidbits about some of the cast or like some of the firsts in the episodes, some of the props that they use from like Forbidden Planet. They used a whole bunch of stuff from that movie.
I didn't realize that. Forbidden Planet's a classic movie, classic sci-fi. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they have everything from Anne Francis to Robbie the Robot, plus a bunch of the ships and a couple of the vehicles that were in there. But there's the trivia extras cover things like actress Ida Lupino from the 6mm Shrine. She is the only actor to go on to direct an episode, and she's the only female to ever direct an episode of the series.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, see, I love that kind of stuff. So
yeah, exactly. It's the little tidbits like that really get my mind going.
Yeah.
And
okay.
It's my favorite part of the book.
Yeah. So, and the book weighs in at $800 pages, but it's only, what is it? 20, it's in the range of 20 something. How much, what's the price on it?
The regular price is going to be $27.99, but during the pre-sale, it's only $22.
And that comes, the pre-sale comes with a poster, right?
Well, the pre-sale, you get entered to win a 20 by 30 poster of the back cover art.
Okay.
The cover art is amazing. I had an artist named Thomas Daniel Noonan.
Yep.
From Alaska. He works on black paper and with white charcoal and gets all this amazing shading and detail in there. But
it
I'm
looks
really
great.
happy with the cover.
Yeah, in fact, people go to signaturehorror.com or go to the show notes at shaneplays.com. I've got the entire wraparound cover on the show notes page at shaneplays.com. So go to Signature Horror or go to shaneplays.com and there's links directly. There's a link directly on the show notes where you can go order this book. So, I got a trivia question for you and you're going to get this one. So easy.
Hopefully.
How many episodes was William Shatner in?
William Shatner was in 2 episodes.
2 episodes. That's right. He was in Nightmare at was it 20,000 feet? where he's the only guy who can see the gremlin tearing up the plane. And then he's in that weird episode where him and his wife are like at a diner, and there's some little fortune teller thing that's doing a mind game on him. Huh?
Yeah, the episode is Nick of Time.
Nick of Time, yeah. So so you get to see
the fortune teller is the Mystic Seer.
I know I've seen that one before, but it's been so long that I can't remember. I'll tell you, there were 2 or 3 episodes that I remember really well that did not make any or very few of the fan favorite lists, and that kind of surprised me. Okay, and I'm going to ask you here in a second what some of your favorite episodes are. But one of my favorite episodes that really stuck with me for years was the Purple Testament, where the guy in World War II, if he saw somebody's face glowing, he knew they were about to die, and then he's looking in the mirror and saw his own face glowing at the end. That one just stuck with me, and to me it was really powerful, but it didn't, I guess it wasn't one of because I didn't see it on any fan favorite list. That really surprised me.
It's not one that I see listed much.
Yeah, but I liked it. I thought it was a really powerful story. I love A Stop at Willoughby. That's a great one. Now I did see that on 1 or 2, but it wasn't on many of the fan favorite lists. And then
surprising.
Yeah, it was on just a couple, but there's some that just repeated over and over and over. But another one that really stuck with me, and I didn't see it on any fan favorite lists, was the one where they're in the casino and the slot machine is
the fever.
Yeah, that and like is chasing the guy, and that one didn't make any favorites. So maybe they weren't that good, and they just made an impression on me as a kid. And if I rewatched them now, they're not as strong as I thought. But I didn't see any of those. I would definitely agree with the Purple Testament and A Stop at Willoughby. A Stop at Willoughby is near the top of my list, actually. Yeah, it's a great one.
But the fever, I'm not quite feeling it. I don't really. It's not one of my favorites.
I think what happened was my 12-year-old self, just that image at the end where the guy opens the door and the slot machine's in the doorway. I think that just got into me, And doesn't he end up he's they find him he killed himself or jumped out of a window? I can't remember how it ended.
Yeah, when the slot machine comes through the door at him and is talking to him, he backs up and jumps out the window.
That's it.
Or falls out of the window, one of the two.
All right. So here's some that made almost every top 10 list. The Invaders, which is, the twist on that one's really good, but it's an old lady fighting off little tiny alien invaders, and she never speaks in the whole episode.
Yeah, that's the most powerful part to me is that Agnes Moorehead is the actress.
Yeah,
she was from Bewitched, but she didn't speak. She made a couple sounds here and there.
Right.
But just imagine what she could have done with the episode if she could talk.
Right. Yeah.
Or if they gave her another episode where she could talk.
Yeah. But now this one is one of my favorites, and it's on every fan favorite list, whether it's a top 10, a top 15, or a top 40 or whatever. Eye of the Beholder. Right. If that ending doesn't get into you, then TV cannot move you or cannot make you think.
Definitely.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I'm not going to give away the twist endings in case people haven't seen. Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith. This is one of over and over and over. People love Time Enough at Last. And I remember the first time I saw that one, I was like, oh, that would suck. So
that is quite possibly my favorite of all time.
People love Time Enough at Last. Such a great episode. Walking Distance. I remember seeing it. It didn't make a huge impact on me, but it's where a guy goes back to his boyhood home and actually finds himself as a boy and interacts with himself and his parents and stuff like that. Of course, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, where the guy's on the plane and he sees the gremlin and he's trying to tell everybody there's a gremlin tearing up the plane, but everyone thinks he's crazy.
Richard Matheson actually wrote that episode, by the way, just to circle back around. But for me, out of the 2 William Shatner episodes, I prefer Nick of Time much more than that one.
Now,
that's my personal preference, but
probably the Nightmare of 20,000 Feet. It's probably the only instance where the movie remake I prefer to the original episode.
Right, with John Lithgow.
Yeah, but I just love when the gremlin grabs his face at the end and does the little and then flies off. So yeah. Okay, of course, It's a Good Life. That we already talked about that one. Now I put asterisks by a couple that I've never seen, but made all these top 10. Living Doll. I never saw Living Doll, but I'll tell you what.
Have to see it.
That would have scared the poopy out of me as a kid because I was already scared of dolls when I was a kid. Like I'd have it, if these things come to life, we're done. And if I'd have seen that, I would have been in therapy. So
that's also near the top of my list as well.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, it's like the precursor to things like Child's Play with Chucky and Annabelle.
Yeah.
All the big doll horror movies.
Yeah, this guy, it's Telly Savalas. His daughter has a doll. And the doll will say things, but every now and then it'll look at him and go, "I'm going to kill you." It's like, gotta go.
I actually have a Twilight Zone Talkie Tina T-shirt that I wear to most of the cons that I do. Man,
all right. And then A World of Difference, which that's the one about the actor, right? Thinking that he's, that's the one where the guy's on set, but he thinks his life is different than it is, or something like that, if I remember right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That one I wouldn't put on my top list.
That one made a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. One. Yeah, if I'm going through this list, that means I saw it multiple times on multiple different ones.
Right.
The After Hours, the creepy department story episode.
With the
yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Yeah. And then here's one. Everyone seems to love this. I've never seen it. I need to go find it. 5 Characters in Search of an Exit.
You definitely have to find it. It's probably like top 3 for me.
Yeah, there's like a clown and like 4 other people, and they're just trapped in this cylinder, and they don't know why. So really weird stuff.
A player, a hobo, a ballerina, a general, actually a major. I'm sorry, the clown calls him a general, and then the clown.
And they all have different theories on what's going on. So it sounds really good. Go ahead.
And even after you know the twist ending, 20 years later, you're going to watch it, and it's still going to stand up, and it's still going to be entertaining.
Well, that's the thing to good TV or a good Twilight Zone episode or a good M. Night Shyamalan movie, because he does twist endings. If you know the twist ending and you can still totally watch it again and love it, I mean, it's just, if the only thing good about it is the twist ending, then I'm sorry, it's not really good TV, right? It's got to do both. Well, hey, listen, we're about to get to another break. When we come back, I got some more fan favorite episodes, but I know you've already mentioned a couple of your favorites, but I'd like to get your, like what your favorites are. And we'll talk again about how you can get your book. All right. Some Goblins Are Your Friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Zach, hold up a second. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Folks, we got a few more minutes with Gene when I come back. If you want to call in at 501-823-0965, or if you want to tweet me at Shane Plays and just tell us what your favorite Twilight Zone episode is, you are more than welcome to. All right, take us to a break, Zach.
The smell of mildew emanates from wet stone walls. The only choices before you are to enter the door to the north or travel back up the stairs from whence you came.
Okay. I go to the door to the north.
In this room you encounter an event promoter,
Arkansas RPG Con is the Arkansas convention for all tabletop role-playing games. Arkansas RPG Con will be held on Saturday, October 21st at the Gene Building, located at 913 East Sevier Street in Benton, Arkansas. Early bird tickets are just $7, so visit arpgcon.com for all the details about Arkansas RPG Con.
Okay, well, I guess I go to Arkansas RPG Con.
Yeah, that does sound pretty fun.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things we love. We're talking about the Twilight Zone. Yeah, that was terrible. With Gene DeRosa, author Gene DeRosa, the author of the Twilight Zone trivia book and Encyclopedia. Folks, you can call in at 501-823-0965 or tweet me at Shane Plays if you have a favorite Twilight Zone episode or whatever you like to talk about. We had a caller over the break. Who was that, Zach?
Mark from Greenbrier.
Mark from Greenbrier, and he wanted to bring up Dark Shadows?
Yeah, he was comparing it to the Twilight Zone.
Okay, so the Dark Shadows was a very cool, it was really a soap opera, but it featured like Barnabas the Vampire, and it was an episodic soap opera that was very popular for, I mean, I'm sure with Gene being with Signature Horror, you could tell us real quick about Dark Shadows there, Gene.
Well, like I said, it was a soap opera with vampires and basically take days of our lives and mix in some, I hate to use this analogy, but Twilight. I don't like that as a vampire thing, but it's more soap opera-ish than real vampires.
Yeah, but it was very popular for several years.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In the book, you'll people who see the book will actually, in the trivia extras, will actually see that a lot of the cast members from the Twilight Zone were actually in there for a long period of time, even.
All right, and that was, did you say that was Mark?
Yeah, Mark from Greenbrier.
All right, Mark, thanks for calling in with that. Folks, if anybody else wants to call in, you can call, pardon me, 501-823-0965, or you can tweet us at Shane Plays. All right, so what like, if you had to pick, and you may not be able to, what's your all-time, and I know I mentioned one earlier, you said that might be your favorite, but, or actually just give us your top five. Can you do that? Can you give us your top five Twilight Zone episodes?
Well, it's really hard, but I can pretty much, it changes from day to day depending on what I'm doing, but I think my top five would probably be most likely in this order, but like I said, they can switch around. Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith. one that we haven't mentioned, A Game of Pool, starring
Great episode.
Jack Klugman and Jonathan Winters.
And now that one is where there's a living pool guy, and he laments the fact that he can never get outside of the shadow of this dead pool legend. And the dead pool legend walks into the pool hall one night, and they end up having a game of pool. So, great episode.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Stop at Willoughby is probably top 5. Now this is where it'll get hard. Night of the Meek. It was a Christmas episode starring Art Carney as a department store Santa Claus with a big twist at the end.
Now, is that the one where, and I'm not sure if this is the twist, I hope not, but his bag has endless toys in it?
Right.
Okay.
He finds a bag in an alleyway. It falls over and has a bunch of cans in it. And then when he goes to pick it up, he's pulling out toys and different gifts for everybody in the neighborhood. Because his biggest dream is to give back to everybody in this deprived neighborhood.
Okay.
Now for number 5, probably 5 characters in search of an exit.
Okay. I got to go see this one. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
All right. So
just the acting in it. I mean, William Wyndham as the main lead, but
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when you brought up the Night of the Meek with Art Carney wanting to do good for the neighborhood, I love the episode where the sales guy tries to outmaneuver death over that little girl.
Oh yeah, I actually have that written down as one of my top ones, but I just didn't mention it in the top 5.
Yeah, what's
the Angels?
Yeah, that was a great episode. And the guy who played Death was perfect in that. So, all right, so here's some other fan favorites. The Hitchhiker, which I've never seen, but it made like every top list.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, it's got a nice creepy element to it and supernatural, and it's a good episode.
And of course, you got the Bewitching Pool, which just the description creeped me out.
That made the top list, really?
Yeah, it made several. Yeah.
That was actually the last episode of the entire series.
Well, that one. Now, here's one that is one of my personal favorites. And I think it echoes just as strongly today as it did when it aired. The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. I'm just getting chills thinking about that one. That's a great psychological episode that also has a sci-fi twist in it. And of course, go ahead.
They actually remade that for one of the revival series starring Andrew McCarthy in it, but the twist changed to it's the government doing it.
See, that takes it away in my opinion. But anyway,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Now this one gets referenced in pop culture a lot. It's a cookbook to serve man.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's definitely a good one too.
Yeah. The Lonely. That's the one where the convict on the asteroid gets the android wife. Yeah, great one.
Starring Jack Warden.
Yeah.
He was one of 5 actors from 12 Angry Men to actually appear in an episode.
Oh, okay.
Just a little sidebar there.
There's some good trivia right there. Okay, 22. This is another one that I haven't seen, but if you dream you go to the morgue and the nurse tells you we got room for one more, that's pretty creepy stuff.
The nurse and the actress that's the patient in that are just perfect actresses for the episode.
Well, go ahead.
Why the pre-sale is $22.
Okay. Oh, well, I love that. So here's another piece of trivia that may or may not be in your book. For a short time, they went to videotape from film, and because of them being on videotape, it lended itself to this 22 episode because it made it more claustrophobic feeling because the shooting style was different and it was on videotape. And then the final one that I noticed made just about every favorite was In Praise of Pip.
That's another Jack Klugman episode.
Yeah, where his son dies in Vietnam and he wishes he had spent more time with him. And then in Twilight Zone fashion, he goes to an amusement park with his younger son after that. Mm-hmm. So those are the ones that seem to make every top list or whatever. So
there's one that I really want to add if there's time.
Sure, go ahead.
It's from season 4. It's an hour-long episode, and it stars Dennis Hopper. It's called He's Alive. he's basically this guy who's out on the street spouting hate to everybody in front of big crowds and stuff, and he's trying to build power, and he's not doing it quite right. He's failing at it, but then there's this dark figure in the shadows who gives him the right things to say.
Oh, okay.
And he's like the puppet master.
Right.
And this one I kind of have to give away the twist ending.
Okay.
It turns out to be Hitler who's given him all this advice. So Hitler's still alive and
still
the puppet master,
and he's still fear mongering and hate mongering.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, not every episode was supernatural.
Right.
Some of them were psychological or whatever. So, and then of course there was the incident at Owl Creek, which was not originally, I think that was the only episode that wasn't originally a Twilight Zone episode, and Rod Serling got the rights to run it, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe it won an Academy Award prior to
it did.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and I actually caught that one on TV. That was one of the, and I remember Rod Serling introducing that this is a little bit different of an episode. Man, we're about to have to wrap up. Folks, don't forget, this is author Gene DeRosa, the Twilight Zone trivia book and encyclopedia. You can get it right now, pre-order. Go to signaturehorror.com or go to the show notes at shaneplays.com. I've got a order link directly there. Right now, you can pre-order for $22. Be entered also into a contest to win a poster it's just really great looking. A very nice poster. You got to go check out the artwork. It's great looking. And then and then after the pre-order, the price will be $27.95. All right, Gene, I got to do this to you. I got the bad joke of the week. And I didn't get to do my bad joke of the week last week, so I'm chomping at the bit to do it this week. All right. What do you call a pony with a sore throat?
Horse?
A little horse.
A little horse. I was halfway there.
It's nothing but the finest entertainment here on Shane Plays Geek Talk. Gene, thanks so much. I hope to run into you again soon, man. I think I might try to have you and Christopher Upjohn on a future episode together just to talk about, horror and as an art form and all that in general. And keep me posted when you're going to be back in Arkansas. And I really appreciate you coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Gene. Take care.
This is flight number 914 from Earth to our planet. We will be taking off in 3 minutes.
Mr. Chambers! Mr. Chambers! Don't get on that ship! The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook!
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.